Welcome to the FAFSA Leadership Lounge, where we dive into the policy shaping the work of Florida school leaders. I'm Michelle White, Executive Director of the Florida Association of School Administrators.
And I'm Jessica Janasiewicz, lobbyist for FAFSA and for several school districts across the state of Florida.
So welcome back to the Leadership Lounge. We are the Monday after Thanksgiving, and I'm going to do something a little special this week in taking a look at the Florida's governor race. It is a committee week in Tallahassee, so the next episode will have a full update on all the things related to policy and what's been moving along the way. But we are going to take a look at this election. It's a little less than a year away. It's already heating up, and we're going to look at who's in the race, who may enter the race, and what the impact has been thus far on Florida politics.
Absolutely, because I certainly think that we will see a impact of who the lead people in this race are looking to be. They will certainly be able to have an influence on the legislative session this year. So on the Republican side, we have current U.S. Representative Byron Donalds, who has the backing of Donald Trump. He is thus far, as of this moment, comfortably ahead in the polls for the Republican nomination to succeed Governor DeSantis. Donalds has continued to campaign. He's attended Turning Point USA events at the University of Florida, and he started to talk more about the cost of living and other issues that we know are big pain points for folks here in Florida. He also believes that Florida will need to develop its own health care plan. Congress can't fix or replace the Affordable Care Act. So these are some of the things he's talking about. He used to be a representative here in Tallahassee in the Florida House, and we actually worked with him quite closely with FAFSA, and he was a Legislator of the Year recipient.
Yes.
So he is someone that is very well known to us and to our members who were active at that time when he was in the House. So obviously at this moment in politics, having the backing of the president is a very powerful thing. But certainly what we also know in Florida politics and with the Florida governor's races in the past, they can change quite quickly. You know, Governor DeSantis was not, I think, who everyone thought was going to become governor when he was running all those years ago. And it was the backing of now President Trump that put him over the edge and really gave him this huge advantage. And then we see, obviously, he not only won that race, but then won a subsequent race. So things can change, but right now, I think it's easy to say that Representative Donalds right now is currently the front runner.
Yeah, and he has had a different perspective to now being at the federal level for a number of years when it comes to conversations like healthcare and what does it mean if there's big changes at the federal level coming to the states, and we'll be able to kind of see what those issues are as changes are made to the Department of Education, and as Congress allows allows for the dismantling of the USDOE and even further than what the current plan is. He will have perspectives of what those block grants look like coming to the state and being able to talk about and really get support potentially around that perspective from all age groups.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Another individual on the Republican side who has officially entered the race may also sound familiar to our listeners. He is the former Florida House Speaker, Paul Renner. So he also served in the Florida House, and obviously there he was the top spot just a few years ago. He has been campaigning on an extensive economic platform that is also focused on affordability. Are we seeing a trend here, folks? Clearly that is something that's on everyone's mind. His plan looks at housing costs. He is proposing slashing property taxes, which is also something, of course, we've talked about a great deal during these committee weeks, as the governor has been pushing very hard for that. And we know the House is looking at that issue, and we anticipate that the Senate at some point will as well. But that's one of his big issues. He also wants to keep tuition rates level for higher education and expand vocational programs to generate more high-paying jobs. Interestingly, he, of course, was House Speaker when Governor DeSantis was governor during his tenure, but the governor has already been very vocal that he did not think that Speaker Renner should be entering the race. So that was a little surprising. But he came out and just flat out said it. So, he is using kind of those, I'm sure, contacts and everyone that he knew from his time being the speaker to try to get out there and raise money and get the name recognition.
Yeah. And he definitely has some strong Florida connections and, just working through that policy in the 2 years that he was speaker, and building on that. So definitely a potential candidate for moving forward. So on the Democratic side, we have Orange County Mayor Jerry Demings, who has served in his current position since 2018. He has also served as the sheriff of Orange County and the chief of the Orlando Police Department. He is married to former U.S. Representative Val Demings. He is running on a platform that includes expanding Medicaid coverage so every Floridian can access affordable care, investing in law enforcement and community partnerships to keep citizens safe, expanding renewable power to lower energy costs, and he will restore local control, giving cities and counties the flexibility they need to solve problems. So a little more local level perspective that he might be able to get that grassroots participation to really support his campaign.
Yes. And coming out of Orange County, Orlando area, obviously the big population center here for the state. So that is one advantage for individuals when they come into the race. If they're from a larger area and have name recognition in that area, that's certainly helpful. It doesn't mean that you win, obviously, but it's certainly helpful that at least in that area where we have a lot of folks living, he has got name recognition there. And certainly in his position as sheriff, that's obviously, a notable position.
Right. So the other Democrat that is already put their name in the hat is former U.S. Representative David Jolly. He is a former congressman from Pinellas County. He has spent the last 8 years as a political analyst on MSNBC. And some of the issues he would like to work on specifically are easing the burden of property insurance by creating a state catastrophic fund that would remove natural disaster perils from the private market. He also would like to invest more in public schools, including raising teacher pay. Other things that he is really strongly talking about, including campaign finance and reform, restoring reproductive freedom, and accepting the science of climate change.
So I think we've clearly seen across both the Democratic and Republican candidates, a lot of the same issues are being talked about. Now, obviously, we expect the two parties to have very different ways of going about tackling those problems, but it's clear that affordability and insurance are top of mind here in the state of Florida, and they know it's an issue.
On all the sides of the aisle, right? They definitely know that we have voters that are in the early beginning parts of their lives and are struggling to have a home and the quote unquote American dream, but also that we have a lot of retirees that need that health insurance, that have now a fixed income, but still want to call Florida home. So more to come on that for sure.
That's right. And so we do also have in the race currently a libertarian candidate. Scott Jewett is a keynote speaker on innovation and business strategy from Boca Raton. He is saying that he is the Libertarian 2.0 candidate that respects the importance of social programs while ensuring responsible government spending with a conservative fiscal policy. So that's a third party candidate there that could, depending on how things shake up, really impact the race.
Yeah. And really these next few months, both leading up to our primaries, and what's happening, certainly at the federal level, what comes out of the 2026 Florida legislative session is going to really kind of set the stage for how these primaries come about, and it will be interesting for sure.
Absolutely. And there are actually a few individuals who've hinted that they're entering the race, or at least there have been some rumors kind of swirling around that they may join the race. The first of which is our current Lieutenant Governor, Jay Collins, who is a former Green Beret in the U.S. Army, and he was elected to the Florida Senate in 2022. He was selected to fill the vacant lieutenant position, governor position in August. So then there's been really almost immediately since that time, speculation that he would run to replace DeSantis next year. He has not officially declared his candidacy, but there's a little bit of teasing his run, and he's recently started having some interactions online with Representative Donald, which is just kind of an indicator that perhaps he's, working to attack him politically. And then also notably, a nonprofit organization that's called the Florida Fighters has started running ads featuring him.
So really interesting as well of I've seen on social media where he's also just building out more knowledge of who he is as a person.
Yes.
And so many people, of course, are speculating, this sounds like it's turning into a political campaign. We think he's going to move forward. But there are definitely a few more people that we wonder. So also included is James Fishback. He is the 30-year-old CEO of the investment firm Azoria, and has said that he'll officially announce his campaign soon. He has repeatedly attacked Donald, particularly on immigration policies related to the federal H-1B visa program, calling him DEI Donald and H-1 Byron.
Oh my goodness.
I think he's probably stirring a pot.
I think it certainly sounds like it.
It will be interesting. Mm-hmm. And then we have talked about this in the past on the podcast too, is First Lady Casey DeSantis, a former news reporter. Of course, she has been First Lady now for almost a full 8 years. She was honored as the 2023 Republican Party of Sarasota's Statesperson of the Year. She is the first woman ever to receive that distinction. And as Florida's First Lady, she has taken on a policy portfolio of her own that, quote, ranges from hurricane recovery to issues of mental health. She has denied her interest in running for office in the past. There's been hints from the governor more specifically about that. But it's also been interesting to see where former or current DeSantis allies are aligning, whether it's currently with Representative Donalds or with some other people that are entering the race.
Yes. And I think that will be something that will be very interesting as it plays out during the legislative session. What, if any, role does Representative Donalds try to play either behind the scenes or more vocally about any of the policies that come forth during the session? If he attempts to have influence and is successful, that will give a lot of indication about where people are in the race. And then also if the governor comes out and officially endorses someone else, what impact does that have as well? So it's all just kind of going to be swirling around during the legislative session and will undoubtedly have an impact on our politics, to be sure.
It's also really interesting too. So 20 years in the political process of just seeing certain strategies of when people announce and when others also offer endorsements, right? So that piece about the governor and who is he going to endorse and when is he going to do that? Some of that he may be holding back until we get through legislative session, and he may know that there's other candidates out there that haven't quite risen to the top, but want to make sure that he doesn't give his blessing too early.
Well, and that's an interesting part. The little addition to that was we got some news reports just a couple of weeks ago that are reporting that the governor has been making an effort to enlist one of his biggest past backers, Citadel founder Ken Griffin, to get involved in the Florida governor's race. Mr. Griffin has declined to get involved in the 2026 race, but apparently, at least according to these reports, Governor DeSantis has reportedly asked him to back a challenger to Byron Donalds. So who that is, we don't know.
No.
But it does seem like he is trying to have at least an alternative candidate to Representative Donalds, who of course was endorsed by President Trump. And really, he and DeSantis had seemingly a good relationship until Representative Donalds backed President Trump in the most recent presidential election.
Yeah. And so also then on top of all of these things is if one of them gets elected, all the other additional dominoes that will start to fall. So if Congressman Donalds is successful, then what happens with his seat and who is going to be elected to that? And of course, does Lieutenant Governor Collins get elected if he decides to jump into the race? What does that mean for his running mate? Man, there are a lot of things we could talk about when it comes to just the governor's race alone.
Just the governor's race alone. And to your point earlier, we really aren't going to know until we get closer to the primary of how this is even really looking to shake out, because so much can happen in politics and does happen in politics that being that we are months away from the primary means that a lot can happen in that time.
And sometimes it happens overnight.
Yeah.
Right? Like something happens with a candidate and they're on top, and then an incident, whatever it is,
Absolutely.
And suddenly they're at the bottom of the list. So there will be a lot of interesting things to kind of watch and keep track of as we move forward and get closer to the election. We also obviously have a large group of candidates and potential candidates so far, and there's a lot more time to go. Candidates sometimes also drop out. So we'll see what happens as we get closer. We will certainly keep all of our listeners updated on changes. We can't thank you all enough for listening. Please make sure to tell your friends and colleagues about the FAFSA Leadership Lounge podcast, and we encourage you to stay tuned for more.
Thank you for listening to the Leadership Lounge podcast presented by the Florida Association of School Administrators. Today's podcast was hosted by Michelle White and Jessica Janasiewicz. The podcast was produced by Jeff Willoughby. Original musical recordings by David Higgins. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. New episodes are released each Monday. For show topics, suggestions, questions, or comments, please email communications@fasa.net. We hope you enjoyed the show.